Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Roundup. In today's episode, we have a lot of interesting reports from around the world.
And as always, let's start off today's episode with the headlines.
Hundreds of furious residents of the East Palestine, Ohio, where a train derailed and spilled toxic chemicals packed into a high school gym on February 15th, demanding answers to what health dangers they now face. The Norfolk Southern Railroad-operated train's derailment caused a fire that sent a cloud of smoke over East Palestine, forcing thousands to evacuate. Much remains unknown of the dangers posed to residents by the toxins that spilled, with many complaining of headaches and irritated eyes, while noting that chickens, fish, and other wildlife have died off. The train of 3 locomotives and 150 freight cars was headed from Illinois to Pennsylvania when it derailed, with 20 of the cars carrying hazardous materials, including 10 that derailed. State health officials have insisted that East Palestine is a safe place to be. New Zealand has started to assess damages in the wake of Cyclone Gabrielle on February 15th, as residents grapple with significant devastation caused by flooding, landslides, and high winds. Authorities estimate more than 10,000 people have been displaced so far. 2 people have been confirmed dead in Hawke's Bay, a region on the eastern coast of the North Island. Gabrielle, which reached New Zealand on February 12th before making its way down the east coast of the North Island, cut off entire towns, washed away farms, bridges, and livestock, and inundated homes, stranding people on rooftops.
A Roman-era sarcophagus, likely to have belonged to a prominent individual, was uncovered at the site of a 2,000-year-old Roman cemetery discovered last year in the northern Gaza Strip, the territory's Antiques Ministry said. So far, 90 individual and mass graves have been found at the site, which is being supervised by a French team of experts and which was uncovered last year by construction workers on an Egyptian-funded housing project.
Former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, on February 14th kicked off her campaign for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination. She joins Trump as the only announced 2024 candidates. Haley is set to lay out her campaign plans in a speech on February 15th in Charleston, South Carolina. Haley, 51, has gained a reputation in the Republican Party as a solid conservative who has the ability to address issues of gender and race in a more credible fashion than many of her peers.
News reports of the devastating earthquake in Turkey and Syria have been horrific. It's truly a humanitarian crisis.
Today, we're going to be talking about the recent devastating earthquakes in Turkey and Syria. At 4:17 a.m. local time on Monday, February the 2nd, a magnitude 7.8 earthquake hit Turkey and Syria and was also felt in Cyprus, Egypt, Israel, and Lebanon. Dozens of aftershocks mean thousands of people have lost their lives after 2 devastating earthquakes struck the Turkey and Syria borders last week. The 7.8 magnitude earthquake is one of the strongest to hit the region in 100 years. Over 7,000 buildings have collapsed in Turkey and Syria, including hospitals, schools, and government buildings. Children were found under the rubble days after the incident occurred. By Thursday, the death toll had risen to more than 20,000 people, and thousands of rescue workers were digging through debris in freezing conditions in an increasingly desperate search for survivors. Hundreds of thousands of people made homeless by the earthquake are being housed in banks of tents erected in stadiums and shattered city centres. Syria, ravaged by 12 years of war and terrorism, is the least prepared to deal with such a crisis. Its infrastructure is heavily depleted, and the country remains under Western sanctions. Thousands of those in the affected areas are already refugees or internally displaced people. So how do these earthquakes actually occur? Earthquakes are usually caused when underground rock suddenly breaks and there is rapid motion along a fault. This sudden release of energy causes the seismic waves that make the ground shake. Earthquakes occur when the plates get stuck but keep trying to move. The tectonic plates are constantly moving, but sometimes they get stuck. When they get stuck, pressure builds up and the plates will suddenly move. This causes an earthquake. So how can we help those who have been affected? There are a number of charities providing humanitarian relief in Turkey and Syria. For example, Humanity First.
My name is Bashir. I'm from the UK. I'm here with a 3-country assessment team from Humanity First. We've got colleagues from Germany, Turkey, and the UK, and we're here to do a rapid assessment to see where the most acute need is.
So guys, we have reached our base camp for Humanity First. The situation where we are is about 1,700 people displaced. We are staying in a school, and one thing I can say about the Turkish people is the resilience that I'm seeing. People are still upbeat.
The UK government matched pound for pound £5 million of public donations to this appeal. One of the best ways to help is by donating essential supplies through trusted charities and aid organisations. But most importantly, we should pray to Allah the Almighty to comfort those living in the affected countries and to have mercy on those who have passed away.
Jazakallah for that report. We are so fortunate to have blessings of Khilafat. Just one of those blessings is the weekly Friday sermon summary which Hadur Aydullah Ta'ala bin Nasir Aziz delivers from the Mubarak Mosque in Islamabad, UK. With that, let's go to Islamabad and find out more about this week's Friday sermon.
Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers and sisters. During this week's Friday sermon, Hazur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasir Aziz mentioned the prophecy of the promised reformer, also known as Hazrat Muslim Maud, which is commemorated in the Jamaat on the 20th of February. Beloved Hazur said he would mention some aspects during his week's Friday sermon. Did you know Hazrat Muslim Maud Anhu was the second Khalifa of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community for 51 years, from 1914 to 1965. Beloved Hazur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasir Aziz said that the promised Messiah Islam received a revelation promising a son who would possess many excellent qualities through the grace of God and his help. Hazur mentioned the prophecy which was given to the promised Messiah Islam, some of which states, "Rejoice, therefore, that a handsome and pure boy will be bestowed on thee. Thou wilt receive a bright youth who will be of thy seed and will be of thy progeny. A handsome and pure boy will come as your guest." Hazur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasir Aziz said that in accordance with this prophecy, Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Ahmad Anhu was born to the promised Messiah Islam, who would also go on to be chosen by God as the second Khalifa. He later also announced that in fact he was the very son foretold by God to the promised Messiah Islam. During this week's sermon, Hazur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasir Aziz said that all the aspects of this prophecy were fulfilled in the person of Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Ahmad Anhu. Hazur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasir Aziz said that he would mention some of his great scholarly achievements. Hazur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasir Aziz said that before mentioning these great achievements, it is important to first mention that growing up, he enjoyed a very weak health during his childhood. His eyesight was very weak, and he even started losing vision in one eye. Furthermore, he did not have any such standard of education. In fact, Hazrat Muslim Maud Anhu mentions that his formal education was only at the primary level. However, God Almighty had decreed that he would be fulfilled with spiritual and secular knowledge, and as such, he was enabled to deliver such lectures and write such books that were remarkable. Hazur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasir Aziz said that Hazrat Muslim Maud Anhu's books, speeches, lectures, and sermons, which have been published in book form, or are prepared and ready to be published, number 1424, they are in the form of a set called Anwar al-Ulum, which is 38 volumes. Hazur said that Hazrat Muslim Maud Anhu delivered 1,808 Friday sermons, 51 Eid al-Fitr sermons, 42 Eid al-Adha sermons, and 150 Nikah sermons. There are various other categories as well, and if all the pages of his works are added together, they amount to about 75,000 pages. During this week's sermon, Hazur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasir Aziz said that in Tafsir Kabir, Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Ahmad Anhu provided the commentary and explanation for 69 chapters of the Holy Quran, which total 10 volumes and 5,907 pages. There are more pages of his notes on commentary, which have been found and number in the thousands. Similarly, he did a great amount of work in the explanatory translation of the Holy Quran in the form of Tafsir Saghir. It was his great desire that such a translation for the Holy Quran should be completed. Hazur Ayatollah bin Nasr Aziz said that Hazrat Muslim Maud Anhu's commentary is also published in English in the form of the 5-volume commentary. In the introduction, he wrote that due to being the student of the first Khalifa Anhu, there will be many points on this commentary which he learned from him. As such, this commentary will include points from the promised Messiah of Islam, the first Khalifa Anhu, and himself. He said that this commentary would help heal the spiritually ill. Dear brothers and sisters, we too should take benefit from these treasures left behind by Hazrat Muslim Maud Anhu, so we can also increase in our knowledge and spirituality. Hazur Ayatollah bin Nasr Aziz said, all of Hazrat Muslim Maud's works are treasure for this community, and a great deal of work continues to be done to translate his works into English. Hazur Ayatollah bin Nasr Aziz prayed that may we benefit from these works. Dear brothers and sisters, this was just a very brief summary of this week's Friday Sermon. We hope you are able to hear the full sermon, which can be found on mta.tv. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah for that summary. You know, on this show, we've done a lot of learning. Some of those have been in the form of the Islamic Inventions series.
Nowadays, we have things like Google, Maps, Waze, and other navigation systems. But before all of these innovations, maps were so essential for getting around everywhere. Yes, this week we'll be learning about maps, yet another Islamic invention.
Maps are central to understanding of the world, its geography, and our movement. But did you realize that Islamic civilization is responsible for some of the most important advancements in the field of cartography? Muslim scholars and explorers traveled extensively between the 9th and 12th centuries, making their way across the Muslim world, but also to far-flung places such as China, Southeast Asia, and Southern Africa. The Abbasid Caliph Al-Ma'mun, who reigned from 813 to 833, is believed to have commissioned geographers to measure the distance of the Earth corresponding to 1 degree latitude along a meridian. This helped Muslims to calculate the circumference of the Earth. He then commissioned the production of a large map of the world which no longer exists. In the 9th century, Islamic astronomer and mathematician Al-Khwarizmi made significant contributions to cartography through his work on the calculations of longitude and latitude. Al-Khwarizmi's methods allowed for the creation of more accurate and precise maps, and his book Kitab al-Jabr wal-Muqabla was a key text in the field for centuries. A school of terrestrial mapping was established in Baghdad in the early 10th century, with geographers of the school writing extensively about the people, products, and customs of the Muslim world. They produced world atlases featuring a world map and regional maps. The 11th century Turkic scholar Mahmud al-Kashgari was the first to draw a unique Islamic world map using recent-day Kyrgyzstan as the center of the world. Islamic cartography reached its zenith in the 12th century when Arab geographer Muhammad al-Idrisi produced his medieval atlas. He was commissioned by the King of Sicily, Roger II, to create the most accurate and comprehensive map of the known world at the time. Al-Idrisi not only drew on the knowledge of Islamic scholars and travelers, but also incorporated information from Greek, Roman, and Indian sources. The result was a 70-map atlas known as the Tabula Rogeriana. The Tabula Rogeriana was the most advanced map of the time, and it was used for centuries by scholars and navigators. No doubt, Islamic civilization has made important contributions to many fields, not just religion and literature, but also science and technology. In particular, Muslim scholars and explorers helped develop cartography and gave us the foundations for the maps we use every day. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah for that report, Arsal. That was really informative. You know, something I'm really fond of is traveling. Although I've been some places, there are plenty more I want to visit one day, inshallah.
Inshallah. It's a good thing then that we get to see so many glimpses of so many fascinating places from these reports sent in by our global studios. This week though, we'll be heading over to Canada to scope out one of the many lakes.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Banff National Park has so many beautiful lakes. Today I'll be showing you one of the biggest lakes in Banff. Can you guess which one I'm talking about? Let's find out. Now I have arrived at Lake Minnewanka. This place is good for picnics, weddings, and barbecues. This is the biggest lake in Banff National Park. It is 21 kilometers long and 142 meters deep. It also has a lot of boating options. There are kayaks and canoes for rent. There are cruises on this lake. I would like to go on one for the first time. Let's see how it goes. This cruise takes you on a tour around the lake, and you can explore the lake from the water. The views from the cruise are breathtaking. You can see the surrounding mountains and hear the water splash from behind. I even tried to make a new friend on the cruise. The captain of the cruise offered to let me drive the boat. At first, I thought he was joking, but then I actually got to drive the boat all by myself. Wow, not only was it the first time I went on a boat, but it was the first time I ever drove in a boat. This turned out to be a much more memorable experience than I imagined. And I can't wait to come back again next time. As we came back for recording the next week, it had started snowing. This lake has become one of the most go-to lakes in Banff National Park. If you ever get a chance to come and visit, I am sure you'll have a memorable time with your family.
That sure seems like a beautiful place to visit, and that is definitely one on my trip wish list.
Nasser, that list keeps on growing, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Anyway, you may remember that last week we showed you the lucky Waqfe Nau children from the UK got together to attend a blessed virtual Mulaqat with Hazur. Well, this week we've got another question that beloved Hazur answered for you to check out, so let's take a look.
Assalamu alaikum, Pyara Hazur.
Walaikum salam. Haji, Wahid Khan.
Why has Allah created bad people in the world? Why did He not make everyone good and righteous?
Allah Ta'ala ने बुरे लोग नहीं बनाए. हज़रत सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने फरमाया कि हर बच्चा जो पैदा होता है वो बड़ी नेक पायस नेचर पे पैदा होता है. लेकिन उसका जो एनवायरनमेंट है, उसका जो माहौल है, वो उसको अच्छा या बुरा बना देता है. तो अगर सारे लोगों के एनवायरनमेंट अच्छा मिल जाए तो फिर सारे लोग नेक होंगे, कोई बुरा आदमी नहीं होगा. और अगर जब बड़ा होता है इंसान, जो ईसाई घर में पैदा हुआ या जो एथियस्ट के घर में पैदा हुआ बच्चा या जो पेगन्स के घर में पैदा हुआ बच्चा, वो फिर अपने एनवायरनमेंट को देख के, अपने माहौल को देख के, अपने घर के देख के, अपनी सोसाइटी को देख के वैसा बन जाता है और बुरी बातें करने लग जाता है. मुसलमानों में भी देख लो कि बावजूद इसके मुसलमान के घर में पैदा होते हैं, मुसलमान कहलाते हैं, लेकिन बाज़ बुरी बातें सीख लेते हैं, वो बुरी बातें करते हैं. तो अल्लाह ताला ने तो नहीं बनाया, अल्लाह ताला ने तो इंसान को अक्ल दी और एक माहौल बनाया और बताया कि ये अच्छी चीज़ है, ये बुरी चीज़ है. इसलिए हमें कोशिश करनी चाहिए कि हम दुनिया को बताएं, हम वक्फ़े नौ बच्चे हैं, दुनिया को बताओ कि अल्लाह ताला ने हमें अच्छे काम करने के लिए पैदा किया है, ठीक, और हमने अच्छे काम करने हैं. और दुनिया जो ख़राब हो रही है उसको ख़राब होने से हमने बचाना है. तो ये हमारा काम है और दुनिया को शैतान के कब्ज़े में से, शैतान ने जो उसके ऊपर होल्ड किया हुआ है ना, उससे निकालना है और अल्लाह ताला के पास लेके आना है सारों को. और वो तभी होगा जब तुम ख़ुद नमाज़ें पढ़ोगे, अच्छे अच्छे काम करोगे, अल्लाह मियाँ से दुआ करोगे, लोगों को अच्छी बातें बताओगे. तो फिर लोगों को ठीक रास्ते पे भी, राइट पाथ पे भी चलाओगे.
Alhamdulillah, it is such a blessing to sit and interact with Azur Aydin bin Aziz. Unfortunately, though, that's all we have time for in today's episode, so don't forget to join us next week when we'll be covering even more amazing topics from around the world.
Once again, Jazakallah for joining us today, and don't forget to send us your feedback on our socials or our email at roundup@mta.tv. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.
Seek to reach all the corners of the earth. Oh, I shall call. Oh, I shall call. I shall call. Oh, I shall call. I shall call. Seek to reach all the corners of the earth.